guys, Terry James, your mortgage guy, coming to you. And today, what I wanted to talk about is one of the things. I had a question come up in one of my previous videos, and the question came up simply asking, about the advantages and disadvantages of refinancing. And so there's a lot of things that I can kind of go over. I did just want to address that question and get back. As I say, make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment. I do read the comments. I get back to you. So one of the things when we get into advantages, disadvantages of refinancing, of course, the advantages are always going to be, when you look to refinance, are going to be to lower your interest rate, lower your payments. There's a number of reasons ultimately why people refinance. Those are going to be your top priority as far as lowering your interest rate or your payment. Typically, if you're not doing that, another advantage could also be simply taking out cash. So when you're taking out cash, a lot of people are doing that to pay debt off, which, as you know, if you've been watching me, one of the things I always say is we should not be taking equity out of your home to pay off debt. Okay. When you take cash out of your home, you want to use that to invest either in another property, use it to invest in getting something else that's going to bring you more money or generate income. You don't want to use equity in your home to pay debt off. Okay. Debt is dead. It does nothing for you. It does not add anything to you. So if you're going to take cash out, if you're thinking about refinancing, you're going to take cash out, I urge you to definitely think about using that money for something that is going to build you income, that is going to bring you income. All right. One of the other advantages of refinancing oftentimes is going to be switching terms. So for example, you can go from a 30-year fixed term into possibly a 15-year fixed term or even a 10-year fixed term. And so if you're going from 30 years and you want to pay it off earlier, that's also why many people tend to refinance. That could be why you're thinking about refinancing. So these are all the different things out there. Another popular reason why many people refinance as well is going to be to get rid of your private mortgage insurance. And so if those of you that are not familiar, is that anytime you purchase a home and you're going to pay, you only put down, let's say you purchase a home and you only put down 10%. The rest of that, anytime you put down less than 20%, you're going to have what's called PMI, private mortgage insurance. And so if you do a conventional loan, you can get out of this by simply, if your interest grows on your house, let's say you put down 10%, and so you're going to have a PMI payment. That PMI payment can actually be removed if you're conventional without you refinancing. And so if your value grows to where your loan amount versus the value is at 80% or 78%, that PMI payment will fall off, or you can get that PMI payment that you're paying extra on your monthly mortgage. You can get that removed. You just have to notify the lender, say, hey, my value is this. They will more than likely do a estimator, or maybe they might even do a appraisal, and then they'll be able to remove your PMI payment. Now, if you are going FHA, if you have an FHA loan, you will have to refinance to get out of that PMI payment. So be aware of that if you have a FHA loan, the only way to remove that extra payment is to refinance. All right. So those are a couple things as far as just on the advantages, what most people are thinking about. I'm sure if you're thinking about refinancing, those are probably some of the things you're looking at as to why you want to refinance. Even on the cash out, let me back up too. One thing I want to say on the cash out is that you don't have to necessarily refinance your first in order to tap into the money out of the equity in your home. So what you can begin to do is take a home equity line of credit, or they even have, like, some lenders are still doing seconds. So you could do a second mortgage, tap into your equity without doing a full refinance and changing the terms of your first mortgage. So if you're locked in at a really good rate on your first mortgage, let's say 3% or something, 2.5%, you buy your home 2 years ago when the rates were really good. and now you want to pull some money out. You don't have to redo your first. I would highly suggest looking into a home equity line of credit or a second that allows you to type into that money without touching your first. And so there's a lot of advantages in that. And what I would always say when you are looking at taking that cash out, please, by all means, you want to use part of that for investing. Okay, whether that be stocks, you want to invest in something that is going to bring you money. Do not just take money out of your equity and just pay debt off and just pay off dead debt is what I call it. All right. So now when we get to some of the disadvantages, right? So when you're looking at disadvantages of kind of, why shouldn't you refinance? Some of the things you want to consider is where the market is at the time you're looking to refinance. You want to consider your current rate. You want to consider what the current rate will be if you refinance. And so, for example, right now where the rates are, it's not really the best time to refinance just because I'm pretty sure you probably have a lower rate than where the rates are now. So you may want to hold off. Definitely look at if you really need some cash really, really bad. You definitely want to look into a home equity line rather than redoing your first for a much higher rate. So that's where you want to look at the cost. Some of the other things that could be considered a disadvantage is you're going to have fees, of course, if you refinance. So you're going to have fees, you're going to have closing costs, stuff like that. Typically, when you refinance, those fees are probably going to run you around $2,500, maybe $4,500 is what, kind of that gap of what you'll probably end up paying to refinance. So that's where you want to add up the cost, say, okay, if I refinance, it's going to cost me this, but what are the advantages of that? So even if you redo your first and you refinance, pull out cash, get that first, and it's going to cost you, $4,500. You want to look at, okay, well, what are you getting in return? If you're going to now, that gives you access to leverage to where you're about to buy a second property. You're about to buy possibly a multi-unit property. That's going to bring you more money. And yes, your rate might be higher than what it was, and the cost of fees and everything involved to refinance, but look at what you're about to invest to. So if that investment is now going to earn back the money that you're spending, then it's a win-win. So that's where you want to look at that. And on that, any refinance you do, typically you can expect a good 30, 45 days from beginning to end to complete your refinance. That's usually where you're going to be with most lenders right now. And then on there, some of the other disadvantages, if you refinance your first, okay, let's say, you're going to lose essentially time that you've been in that loan. So what that means is, let's say you've been in a loan for 10 years, you did a 30-year term, you've been in it 10 years, you have 20 years left. If you refinance to a 30-year term, then basically that puts you paying your loan off another 10 years. So that's also could be considered a disadvantage. And that's where you want to look at, okay, well, is it worth the cost? Like, yes, your payment's going to go lower because you're going from, a 30-year to a 30-year. But one thing I would keep in mind, too, is you want to add up the cost of paying an extra 10 years versus, in this scenario, if you've been in it for 10 years, you have 20 years left. Why not look at doing another 20-year term? So now you're not losing that time. Now your payments are going to be amortized, for that 20-year period. So they might be a little more, but you want to look at, well, how much more is it costing you to go another 10 years on this 30-year mortgage? So these are the type of things you want to look at when you are thinking about refinancing. And, and one of the things I would say overall to keep in mind is that we're talking about tapping into your equity because the thing is that, yes, you want to use your home as a leverage. You want to leverage your home. You want to leverage the equity to actually work for you. So I know a lot of people, they get in a home and they say, hey, I'm going to pay this loan off, and that's all great if that's your goal and that's the only thing you want to do. But what good is a home being paid off if you don't leverage it? So you can have all the equity in the world, but if you're not leveraging that to generate more income or to build other investments, then you're pretty much wasting the equity in your home. So for example, I know, like I said, I know a lot of people who just get there and they just want to pay their home off and that's it. Okay. Now, if you plan to pay your home off, okay, that's great. But how can you now use, let's say you paid your home off, you have $400,000 of just equity sitting there. You paid it off, great. Well, what good is it if it's just sitting there? It does you no good. It does no benefit to you. It's not bringing you more money. It's not generating income. You always want to use your home to generate income. So that's where it becomes you want to start planning your move, not just purchase a home, not just have a home. You want to start making plans. Okay. So, I have a home, and if my plan is to pay it off, that's great. Once you pay it off now, okay, how are you going to leverage 200,000? Are you going to invest in a business? Are you going to invest in possibly buying another piece of property? Like, these are the things that you want to start thinking about. These are the goals that you want to have is, okay, now that I've paid my home off, how am I going to leverage this? Am I going to pay cash for another home? How are you going to use that to your benefit? It's not just about paying off a home, getting rid of your mortgage payment. You got to leverage a very huge tool. Okay, your home is nothing but a stepping stone to building your wealth, to building whatever it is you want to do. And so you want to use it. Equity sitting there is just equity sitting there. Who cares if you have $700,000 worth of equity if it's not doing anything for you? So these are the things that you definitely want to keep in mind. There's the advantages and disadvantages of refinancing, but the goal is to always make sure you have a plan. So if you're going to refinance, then what is the plan of you taking that money out? Don't just refinance. Oh, well, rates are really good right now. Let's just do the, okay, that's great. Rates are good, but what's your plan? Put a plan in place, sit down, talk with even a financial advisor, talk with a loan expert, and let's plan out exactly what it is you want to do. Because like I said, you can have all the equity in the world, but it doesn't do you any good if you're not using it. All right, so I hope you guys found this helpful. Like I said, I was just wanted to answer a question. I told you I would drop a video to answer your questions. So there's that. Make sure you guys always hit the like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you have any other questions. All right, later.